What are you training for?
Life.
Welcome to Train for Life, a podcast brought to you by ISI Elite Training. I'm Adam Rice, founder and CEO, and we'll be hosting this alongside Amanda Hall, our COO. Tune in weekly as we explore topics on personal and professional development to help you level up in all aspects of your life. We call this Training for Life. All right, well, welcome back today. Today's subject is on something that maybe controversial, but something you're actually probably using every single day. I think all of us are, and whether you like it or not, you're going to be using it, and that is artificial intelligence, AI.
Yes.
So we're going to talk a little bit how we use it in our personal life, in business, our thoughts around it. So let's start with, I guess, one of the questions I'd have, and I think what's really interesting about this is no matter where you are with AI, your thought and process and belief system is going to be radically across the board. So I think we're in this like period of time where, you know, a lot of people equate it back to the internet. I don't know. I'm too young for that. But
That can't be true, though. You've lived through something like...
Y2K, I was like 12 years old. But with that being said, it's like there's people that absolutely think it's the scariest thing in the world, hate it. There's other people that are like completely changing the world and
I
like
think
geniuses.
but don't you think there's people who were scared of it and hated it, maybe even like
100%.
2 or 3 months
My dad
ago,
is an
that
example.
are very different today? It's, I guess maybe that is equivalent to the internet because it was unknown. So I think anybody's weird. It's just wild to me to see some people that were like, this is horrible, or this is going to replace humans, all these weird things, you know, and then now they're using it and they see it differently. So
Yeah.
I mean, there's still a lot of that. It's still new, but I don't know.
It's wild.
I
What
wonder
is
if people
your...
are as like scared of it as, I think they're scared of what it could do and the unknown of it. But I think people see now it's kind of hard not to see the capabilities of it.
Yeah, for sure. What was your belief? Because I think that what to me the most shocking thing, overarching, like we can get into super granular, but like how fast it's changing. I mean, I think back to almost a year ago, like I was just starting or probably had experienced ChatGPT and was using it like a Google compared to like how I
Same.
use it today.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your, like if you look back at you personally, what has kind of been your journey with it from your initial thoughts around it to where today, and like how are you personally using it today?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of I think I get excited about things in technology, and maybe that just comes from, you know, it was a Verizon, which was Verizon Wireless at the time for 17 years. So you watch technology go from a flip phone that does nothing but call out to text messaging to now you have wireless internet on it. It's like, I kind of watched all that fruition come from a technology standpoint. So you take that background and then you see something like this happen. And, you know, at first I kind of thought, cool, it's just a really cool advanced Google,
Right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But then also I think quickly started to use it for things that were now, instead of, you know, to me, I would think of a Google as I'm not really great. Like numbers are my thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So whenever I was writing, you know, an email or something like that, you're using Grammarly, or if I'm like, how do you spell that word? I'm Googling it. But now it's like, start this email for me.
Yep.
And in reference X, Y, and Z. So I very quickly used it for the things to give me a starting point,
Yep.
not to replace necessarily completely, but to give me a starting point on things like emails, copy editing, anything I was creating, or a baseline for like an overview from a work perspective, down to like, what are the best vacation spots to go to with kids?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, personally, you're using it and then it's giving you so much more data, concise, which I thought was, you know. And then today, I actually have a meeting next week with a friend of ours to work on developing an executive assistant for myself using AI.
So
that's like, now I'm like,
Yeah.
actually want to use it to help me to be a better, like from a scheduling, functioning. I mean, at that level of like what that can do and what I've already looked into is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And they're called agents.
Yeah.
So let's backtrack, because I think what would you say to somebody who, because we're going to get into,
I feel
so
like you use it a lot more than I use it already.
yeah, yes, I use it all the time. But like baseline, what would you say around, like, let's level set what AI even is, because I think there's like
That's
this
true.
whole world of people just think ChatGPT is AI, and AI is a much bigger umbrella than just a ChatGPT. But what would you say to somebody who maybe has like the one spectrum is like, oh my God, I'm scared to death of it, or honestly, like I've heard a lot of limiting beliefs, and I get it, right, around this stuff's so fake and all of that. But the reality is, artificial intelligence has been around for, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I know it's 70, 80 years. My dad was talking about how he used artificial intelligence back in the 80s building technology on airplanes and all of that. So it's just now become accessible. But what would you say to somebody who's like super, I want to say maybe conservative around it, or has some fear around it, or is just not being curious right now?
Right.
Because I have this massive, I told you the other day, I think I texted you, I was like, I have this massive fear that I'm going to miss out.
FOMO.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I think part of me would say you can't be, if you're fearful of something, it's an unknown. So the sooner you take the initiative to learn, or at least that, it doesn't take a lot to dabble in it and see
Yep.
if it's, and really understand it. So your fear isn't based off someone else's opinion, or, because I think that's a lot of what that is.
Mm-hmm.
But also I do think, like, man, like, it's you're from a, could you live without it? Of course. Like, we've all lived without a lot of things for
Mm-hmm.
years, right? So I think that statement of, do I have to learn it? But I think from a professional standpoint, or I think companies, I think, you're going to be behind if you're not, because
Yep.
this isn't, it's internet, but think about it from a standpoint of, my kids are, Reese has been using ChatGPT in high school. Like,
Yep.
it's like they're already using it. So this is going to be like their ability to use this to create and maximize their skill sets. And they're already going to be plugged in.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's, I mean, and today I would say even most, if you think coding,
Yep.
coding was huge, right? And my kids both had coding classes. Like, so they're on top of them understanding like what coding is. Now they're understanding what AI is, how ChatGPT works. They're using it in school in assignments. I mean, it is completely a game changer. I mean, what do you think? Because I understand like the thing of like, I'm fear I'm going to miss it. But also I'm like, how do I know how to use it? How do I know how to, I'm more fearful of like, how do I learn how to use it in a way that like I'm missing out more or less like into its full capacity.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm yes, 100%. I think if you're not diving into this, I would say even in my life, even some of the most stubborn, limiting belief friends and people that I have, right, that they have ChatGPT literally on their phone now. And so I think it's not a
Mm-hmm.
if, it's you have to adopt and adapt to it. But oh my God, it makes your life so much easier. And it's not, it can be, I was even talking with one of our team members was, hey, like, it's a tool at the end of the day. Like, it is not to replace your communication.
Right. Yeah, you can't.
Right.
Pretty soon we're all going to be like, where was that ChatGPT?
Yep.
Or you? Or right now it's kind of
I think
obvious.
I told you the other day, I was like, man, like my mind goes to, how do you create something that identifies that this was not AI? Because that's where we're going to get to. And I think what's really cool about AI is it's going to drive innately what our deepest desire and how we're designed as humans, which is connection. I think it's going to demand that, because we are not going to know what is real, what is not real. So like when
That's
you and
kind
I
of
are
scary though, if you think about it. in a way.
It is super scary, but like you can't deny it an
Yeah.
human conversation. So I think it's going to force that. But yeah, I think, you know, I didn't say we were going to do this, but you know how I operate. If you go to kind of pull up your ChatGPT, so I think it's really cool for someone who's been using it for a year. And a lot of people look at ChatGPT and they're still using it at a surface level of Google, right? A little bit more in depth Google, and they're using it as, like I said, to write an email, to write a text response. But I'm curious, if you go through all of how you've used it here, we'll pull up like 10 random ones. I want to pull up some different things, because I think for the audience, it once you see how this can be used, it will blow your mind on that side. And I've got as much personal in here as I do business. And then I do want to talk about prompts and prompt engineering and things like that. So I'm gonna kick it to you. What are like 2 or 3 just funny ones, or like you feel are super relevant that you've used here lately?
I don't know. I'm like, I ask this thing everything, so I'm almost.
You're like hesitant.
I'm like, I am. Well, okay.
What you guys don't know is it's Amanda's therapist.
Yeah.
As well as her travel agent.
No, well, I have everything on here from obviously just using it to research, actually, like best AI video apps, video editing support, because I was looking for like what are some things that for our marketing team and specifically, you know, our editing, like what are some tools we could use that frankly could help maximize the output and not make our dear friend right here, video producer, I'll throw under the guy, but not make him have to sometimes spend so much time doing the awesome work he's doing, but getting that across the finish line and giving him some tools. So I was really down a rabbit hole there. And then personally, I got this idea, you know, that we need a whole line of hats for men that mow grass and are obsessed with their lawns. And I went as far as to take taglines that I was thinking and put them on a mock-up and created a whole like essentially company, and it gave me the whole outline of how I would launch it, sell it, price point, namings of, I'm not going to give it away because I may still do this.
So is that your intellectual
company.
Property, or is it OpenAI's intellectual property?
You know, it's a really good point. I don't know. What do you think?
No, it's yours.
It's my idea. Yeah. It's my idea. It's mine. It's mine until I share it with someone else, I guess, from that standpoint, right? But yeah, so I think in literally having it create the images of the hat. And so it was let's just say I had a lot of fun going down a rabbit hole, and then I sent it to a few people that I know are obsessed with their lawns.
Yep.
Specifically even within our brand that we kind of have a running joke with, and he's like, hey, I'd buy that. So that's when I was like, now I have like an entire thing with about 10 different slogans and everything from a trucker hat to the hemlock style hat, and I think I could launch it on a website tomorrow.
So here's the deal.
What's yours?
Here's the challenge.
But don't just give it, like, you have to answer one too.
No, I'll answer several. Here's the challenge though. So if you guys are on here, you haven't dipped into ChatGPT or you haven't used it for something like that, is take a concept or an idea, create a clothing line using ChatGPT, and then tag us on Instagram.
Yeah.
We want to see what ideas you guys come up with. But you'll see how easy it is. So anything I'm looking on here from, as early as last night, I found a prompt, and my prompt was, let's see here. Act like a travel hacker. Search current airfares or unusually low prices on major booking sites departing from Charlotte, North Carolina over the next 30 days. Return the top 5 examples. And so then it goes out and it searches, and it's Charlotte to Cancun, July 10th to 16th on Spirit, which is a whole nother conversation, but on Spirit for $298 round trip. But it gives you all of those. So that's our trip to Europe in the fall, last fall, was able to plan the entire agenda, put in our address around where Airbnb is. And then also what was really cool is I would take pictures of wherever we were and say, what is this? And it would obviously tell you and educate you. And so that's...
Did you naturally think to do that though? Or did you get that idea from someone?
I did. I naturally thought to... So I always say, like, this is a language. Once you learn the language,
but
you
I think
unlock
that's
it.
why we wanted to have this on the podcast. Because I some of the ways that I've used ChatGPT is because I've heard somebody else say they've used it for this. And then, like, you're really good with the prompt side of it. Like, that's where I feel like I could get better, because sometimes it takes me longer to get the outcome that I want, or I don't think to use it for certain things because I don't know how to do I'm not thinking through the prompt of asking it in that way. Like, from whether it's something as act like you are you know, and I've heard that several times. So, like, act like you are a X and you're developing X, Y, and Z. How would you do that?
Well, even like how we used it, you know, down to the professional level. This morning I had it act as a contract attorney and review a vendor contract for us with, additionally with what are the red flags? What should we know? And then add verbiage, redline that verbiage. So in a matter of, 10 to 15 minutes, I was able to do that. And then I put in the first contract that supplier had sent us versus the last one. And I said, give me the differentiators between the two. So it could just call out that side. And then I think, even recently, one thing that I've really found is act at anything so AI is this level of machine learning. So wherever data exists, that's where AI is super powerful. So for anybody listening to this, one of the things I would say is if there is a ton of data around an individual, meaning I used it the other day for an AI internship to create a full playbook, and I said act as Elon Musk and his chief technology officer to create the deliverables. So I'm saying, okay, act as Elon Musk from an ideation and visionary standpoint, but his chief technology officer to make it digestible. Right. And so I think from that standpoint, we're using it.
What was the question we had the other day? It was like machine learning, right?
Yeah.
So the machine learning. So the question is AI, is it essentially just, since it's learning as people are using it and putting things in, but is it really something new, or is it just what it already knows?
Yeah.
Almost like, I can't remember.
Learning.
So machine learning, but I think some people feel like it's going to have its own brain and start to conquer over us. Like, I've heard that.
Which it can.
Meaning in a sense that, is it always truth?
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Do you think everything that AI would put out would be truth?
I think it's as true as the data. Exactly. It's as true as the input, right?
And the input comes from
humans.
So I think if people could walk it back when they say things, it's like you do still need to understand that you could ask it for information, but you have to understand it's only as good as what it's coming from.
Yeah.
So, and what's out there and available, right? Which is still all made by humans. So I think if you could think of it that way, it takes a little bit of sometimes that fear, for me it does, of what I still don't think we know what it can do, but what it is.
Yeah.
How do you use it though, day to day? If you were going to tell somebody, like,
how do I personally use it, or someone that's just starting out? Would you say?
Well, what did you use first when you stared out, and then what are you doing
now?
I
think I use it the same track that everybody else does, right? I use it as a Google, use it as a way to create emails, go in, and then I've created personal prompts myself that has my voice in it, and then what audience am I speaking to, making sure like I leave out emojis, I leave out the dashes, the unbold. Like, I don't want it to look like ChatGPT, because I think there has to be a human element still to what we do. So I think from an email standpoint, but also, I use it probably 20 to 30 times a day. I literally, like, as we were preparing for this, asking it, what are 3 great topics that might have myths, right? So it's an ideation bank as well as it is a thing. The one thing I want to ask you about, I know we're running up here. So job market, I think that's such a, I feel like we could do an entire episode on that. But the big thing is, AI is going to replace jobs. Yes, it will. But, and I'm going to kick it over to you, but what? Like, what do you think about somebody who, okay, so Colin is sitting behind the camera right now and he's a video producer, but yet now there's AI that's out there that can essentially do Colin's job. So Colin and this side, and this is a very real conversation. So Colin,
I know we should have put Colin on the mic.
We should bring him in.
Yeah.
But if Colin has a limiting belief around AI, then Colin could be operating out of fear. Instead, the people that I think are going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars long term are going to be the people that adopt and so forth. Someone like a Colin, someone like a PR agency, somebody like a graphic designer, somebody like a copywriter. What would you say is going to develop, and how do they go from where they're at today to being 10 times more valuable in the marketplace?
Well, I mean, their ability to output and output content is going to, I look at it this way. They can get away from doing some of the minutia, ideally the things that, you have to do that become very repetitive in editing, and some of the back end sides of that. Like if you can, for one, it speeds up your, the product being developed so you can develop more. But I would say as a creative sitting in that space, I'm thinking about what are the touches that I know you're still creating it, right? I mean, Colin's still at the end of the day
100%.
saying this is good and it's done and it has my stamp on it and it's on brand and all those good things. But he could do it without then having to repeat. Creativeness can become repetitive. I don't care who you are, right? You're going to do a podcast. Like if I'm sitting as a video producer, like that's repetitive. So if I can take away some of those things, it also not only then it unlocks an ability for creation and frankly to, really, I would say enjoy your work more.
I agree.
And create better. So I look at it that, and I do think like it will outwork you if you don't start to embrace AI, because of what the expectations of an individual company or brand that you're working with, or I don't care where you work at. Like today when we're interviewing people, I'm asking them, what do you think of AI? How are you using it today? And if those things aren't embraced, I'm not going to hire that individual because at the end of the day, what your role, your job is going to demand of you, you will not be able to keep up with it. There's just no way. Because it's also a little scary to think about the ability. I feel like we've already sped up since ChatGPT came out. I think post COVID, like the world hit 2022, and I feel like it's been a rocket ship because the ability for consumers to get information, to know what they're doing. So if you're not in it, it's going to hurt you in a career perspective. But I think it could excite you if you look at it through a different perspective. I think when people are scared, they really need to think about it from a different lens, and that would change their ability to be curious. And I also think sometimes people feel overwhelmed. If you're not a techie person, some of the words people say, like just the word AI, I know that sounds weird, but ChatGPT, you think, I'm not techie, I couldn't understand it. No, just download the app and ask it what you should be asking. It literally is that simple. And you could ask it in plain English, and other people have as well. So it's already got that in there. I don't know. I think people feel overwhelmed by it, but I think from a career perspective and a personal perspective, it's probably I look at like a sandbox. When you're a kid and you finally can build things, or you're on the beach and you can make a whole castle. It's like, if you could think of it that way, I don't care what you enjoy doing as a kid and playing. It's a place to play for the first time in a way as an adult and create things. Literally create something that you would say, like, I could never create that. You could. That's amazing.
I think it exponentially amplifies your superpower. I think if you...
It's true.
Because a creative their superpower is not... Like, you can teach anybody to fundamentally edit, right? The strategies there, but like them thinking through in their head, and this is not just limited to creatives. It literally even comes down to an author, right? Or a really anybody. So I think from that side, I think we should develop an entire 9 to 20 episodes on this because we could go on forever. But
yeah, I was gonna say, like, I have if you can go down the rabbit hole, but I've even gone as far as it to ask me, like, what are the areas that I am most vulnerable, frankly, like in in my career, like, where is my strength based off, and it was pretty, I mean, I'm talking like spot on. And then what are the things I need to do, like, that could, for one, help me to get into, I would say, the right seat, right? We all have things that we're naturally gifted at. And when you're not in the seat of that, you're actually not helping your team and you're as a leader, but also whether you're even an individual contributor. If you know, like, this is my superpower, so I'm good at, and you have to continually sit in a seat that is not that, like, it's weird, but it was spot on.
It's crazy, right?
But then also it was the things that I'm like, okay, now I know, like, hey, this is where I'm vulnerable. Like, this is where, from our team perspective, like, these are the type of, roles I need around me, because my ability with mine to go and do exponential is something that somebody else isn't going to be able to do.
Right.
So, I mean, asking it some questions it's wild what it will say back to you.
All right, guys, I would say this. This is, again, I talked about it unlocking it's a different way to think about something. And the second you do that, you can exponentially, I would say, optimize what it is. And so you could even go to ChatGPT and say, whatever it is, let's just theoretically put it out there. I'm a single mom. I'm 32 years old. I have 3 kids. I have a desire to be X. My health, I want to lose 20 pounds. I need you to give me 20 prompts. So at that point, most people would say, give me tips on XYZ. The power is I need you to give me 20 prompts that I should be using that I may be unaware of. And then it's going to give you all of the prompts from that. And then now you use that, and it exponentially gives you so much more information. And so down to how you should be leading your kids, or could be leading your kids, down to grocery lists, to easy food snack, like all of those things, anything you would want. But I think that's the unlocking phase, is asking it to create the best prompt for you and then using that prompt. And so that would be like my number one tip that I've found really over the past 30 days that's unlocked a lot more. So anything else that you want to close out with on AI?
I just think that I would just challenge everyone to get curious. I think we said that several times, but also we asked our system, like, who would love for us to do, like, inside of ISI, we asked franchise partners, like, who would love for us to pick, just go down a rabbit hole and do a whole coaching around AI, and everybody was like, yes, 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 yes. So everyone's, kind of in it. So whether it's personal or professional, I mean, it kind of becomes a little, I look at it like a cohesive system for yourself, that's integrating, personal and professional, into it. And then always remember, you're still in control. So don't be afraid of it. Like, you ask it the best prompt, you put the best prompt in, it's still giving you information. And it's just like anybody who's coaching you, you may like some of it, you may not like some of it. You're still have your gut, your intuition, who you are as a person. So taking away that ability to have fear, and really unlocking it, I would say, from a standpoint of how can you use it and get curious with it. Yeah. I'd just say start there.
Awesome. And I'll say this, guys, it's like anything. Get off the sideline. Get in the game, because there's so much information out there. You can literally go to Google or YouTube and learn everything you need. So being scared is not an excuse. And this is bring out the coach in me, this is your calling to, like, get curious, because I truly believe everyone will be left behind. That's not, or it's going to be alleviate pain and take advantage. This is the one time this year, there will be the first $1 billion company created with 10 employees or less. That is huge. And within next year, they say that there's going to be 100 $1 billion companies that will be created with 3 employees or less. Meaning not the employee piece, but the level of information that you can achieve through this to optimize and enjoy your life. Because at the end of the day, like, this podcast is called Train for Life. This is a component of it. And so when you look through the lens of how do I train for life, man, create capacity so that you can live a more full life and get rid of some of the minutia that you have to do right now to be in a place where you want to achieve. So that would be my tip on that side. But until next time, we will see you guys on the turf.